Kristen, thank you. Minute past the hour developing this morning. More storms like these expected today and into the weekend on the southern plains as people continue to pick up the pieces from this week's deadly set of twisters. At least 51 of them broke out this week across Tornado Alley, extending from Nebraska through Kansas, Oklahoma into North Texas. Residents in hard-hit Bridge Creek, Oklahoma are trying to salvage whatever they can now and clean up the rest. Most people did get to safety early, but 18 were injured at a trailer park in Oklahoma City. One woman drowned in her storm shelter. They say the cellar was in an old abandoned well house that got overrun when the torrential rains hit. Firefighters also rescued a man trapped beneath a toppled RV.
There was at least 6 inches of water flowing through this entire park, and the water was continually rising up around his head.
Forecasters are predicting more storms across the southern plains through Saturday.
We turn now to this. New details this morning. C&M is tightening security today after a woman told security she was attacked on campus. The student told C&M security guards a man and a woman in their 20s kidnapped her near the physical plant building on Tuesday around 9 o'clock that night. Then they sexually assaulted her in the parking lot. The woman says a pair drove away in a beat-up silver 4-door Dodge. Police are now investigating and looking for them.
We're staying on top of another lawsuit filed against APD. Officer John Corvino trained APD cadets and officers. News 13 got the lawsuit. He claims in 2013, training director Joe Wolf and others in charge would bring in outside instructors who were not certified for police training. Corvino says he spoke up because it was against the rules and APD retaliated against him. He says Chief Gordon Eden even suspended him without pay for insubordination. A juvenile jail guard is accused of setting up a fight between 2 teen inmates. Deputies say 34-year-old Rachel DeSantiago asked a 17-year-old girl to beat up another girl who was causing problems at the Bernalillo County Youth Services Center. Deputies say last month DeSantiago even watched as that girl hit the others several times in the face. DeSantiago is charged with child abuse, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and conspiracy.
So here's a bizarre crime. Police are tracking tips on the young woman who posed as a waitress to steal. Santa Fe police say after we showed you this surveillance video last week, they got several tips and they're now following them. A man was eating at the Blue Corn Cafe when he put his credit card out for the waitress. The crook walked up and took it instead, pretending that she was the waitress. She was then caught on surveillance video at a nearby Target where she spent $200. She's not hurting for any money. A nice car, actually. Look, a silver BMW 7 Series was waiting for her right outside. If you are a fan of local radio, you've probably heard the news. 2 longtime broadcasters are off the air.
iHeartMedia made that announcement on Monday. Buck and Dex no longer have a morning show on 104.1 The Edge. Many have flooded social media asking why. News 13's Catherine Mazzone spoke with both sides to find out. Catherine?
Good morning, Adam. Now, the news came as a shock to many, including Buck and Dex. They say after more than 13 years, it was difficult to let go.
It's going to be weird not being there with these people, you know, with our army.
It's tough, you know. I mean, the Edge is embedded in me, you know. I mean, and so it's going to be hard to let that go and start over somewhere else. So.
The two say they received an email to meet with their bosses after their morning show on Monday. And when the two got to the studio, they say the general manager was there with 2 envelopes. They were told iHeartMedia was reorganizing the station and they wouldn't be a part of that. They say it was like a dream. But reps with iHeartMedia say they put a lot of thought into their decision. They tell me this really began more than 6 months ago while analyzing the show. They say ratings were down and it was time for a change.
I thank Buck and Dex for their years of service and the job they did, and you know, it's time to move forward for all of us. And we provided them with a nice severance package if they choose to take it, and you know, we can move on.
Now, leaders with iHeartMedia say there's no plans to change any other lineups on their stations. This was a local decision. They're always analyzing every show. Now, I asked them why there was no forewarning, and they say they didn't want anything to be said on the air, and that's just the way it has to be in radio. Back to you.
Catherine, thank you. A new morning show starts on Monday. It's called The Baxter and Janae Show. You might have seen comments on social media rooting for both sides, but it's become even more than that. We'll tell you what we mean coming up in our next half hour this morning. We'll take a look over our nation's capital this morning live on this Friday, where the federal appeals court is ruling that the NSA's practice of collecting Americans' phone records is not legal under the Patriot Act. a major defeat for the National Security Agency. The court ruled the program exceeds the scope of what Congress authorized under the act. The case was sent to a lower court for further proceedings. The White House says it is evaluating the decision. The program's existence first came to light back in June of 2013 when Edward Snowden linked that information to the media. 6:06 and new this morning, the FBI says it gave local police a heads up about one of the Texas attackers hours before he opened fire.
But police there say they had no idea the shooters were headed their way. According to the FBI, they were concerned about Elton Simpson, who may have had ties with Junaid Hussain, a British ISIS hacker. So concerned, they shared Simpson's photo and license plate with police. Hours later, a shootout that left both Simpson and his roommate Nather Sophie dead. Investigators say social media may have helped inspire this attack, which has lawmakers worried others may be inspired as well. Dramatic new video this morning shows a pair of students wrestling with another trying to unarm him.
What's interesting is it all played out in a library at the University of Nebraska, starting when the student was asked to quiet down.
Go to security. Get off!
The student in the white shirt was apparently asked to not talk so loudly on his cell phone. That's when witnesses say he pulled out a pocket knife. Another student saw what was going on and quickly helped get the man on the ground. Police say that student had 3 knives on him. He's now charged with attempted felony assault and carrying a concealed weapon.
Wow, that has to be terrifying.
I know, and there's people obviously taking video that were just kind of sitting there watching it all unfold.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Trying to.
Let's get right to some overnight news this morning. Albuquerque police have wrapped up a 3-hour standoff that ended shortly after midnight. Police tell News 13 officers were called to the area of Copper and Dallas for a man with an outstanding warrant to arrest him. But when officers arrived, he barricaded himself inside one of the homes there on the street. Shortly afterward, SWAT was called to that area. After 3 hours, officers say the man was taken into custody. The area was blocked off, but it has since reopened. Meantime, a social media firestorm. Many people have strong feelings about iHeartMedia's decision to cut the longtime hosts of a popular morning radio show in Albuquerque.
And they haven't been shy about letting the world know about it. Now, many Buck and Dex fans are taking it one step further. News 13's Catherine Rizzone explains. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, after more than 13 years on the air, the duo got the axe on Monday. Now, after that, fans hit to social media to voice their concerns. Now, I asked local leaders with iHeartMedia if they had predicted this sort of firestorm, and they said, well, here's what they had to say.
We always encourage our talent to bond with their audience, and this shows that they did bond with their audience, and they're responding in kind.
Chuck Heyman with the iHeartMedia, or Chuck Heyman rather, is the iHeartMedia's regional president. He says he's seen people at the station rallying for Buck and Dex, who once hosted the morning show on 104.1 The Edge. But there's been an even bigger backlash online. Many are pleading for the show's return, while others are boycotting the station and iHeartMedia altogether. We even found an online petition, and later today, close to 200 people have said they'll be at a Facebook organized protest. But there are also some who say they're glad to see the duo go. I even found posts on my own page from those welcoming a change. Yet Buck and Dex say the support has made this blow a little easier to handle.
Some of the things we've read, I don't know about you, but I tear up just to see the impact we've had on the community. It's inspiring and it's encouraging and makes me want to get back on the air as soon as possible.
It's totally overwhelming.
Now, Buck says he has no ill will against iHeartMedia, and the two say they'd love to work together in the future if the right situation arose. Now, a new radio show begins on Monday. It's called Baxter and Janae. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Catherine. A lot of people have been talking about this. So I heard iHeart media execs say this was not corporate. It was a local decision to cut the popular morning show. They say ratings were actually down and it was time for a change.
2 high school seniors won't be in class today after their school says a senior prank went too far, but their parents say the school's being unfair. Los Lunas High students AJ Soseda and Clayton Torres say yesterday was a no vehicle day for the seniors, so they decided to ride their horses to class instead. They were suspended for that stunt. The school tells News 13 the horses were not safe around other kids and students had been warned about senior pranks. One of the boys' mothers said they didn't hurt anybody and that this was nothing compared with all the other senior pranks this week.
There's been chickens let out the beginning of the week, and in the school property, in the school cafeteria, there was over 100 crickets let out in the school.
The school wouldn't tell us if any other students had been suspended because of senior pranks this week.
So happening today, lawyers for 2 of the teens suspected of beating 2 homeless men to death with bricks and a pipe are expected to be back in court. They'll be arguing whether the boys should be sentenced as adults if a jury finds them guilty. Lawyers for Gilbert Tafoya and Nathaniel Carrillo were in court earlier this week. Prosecutors argued to limit testimony from an expert on brain development in criminal teens. The judge denied the prosecutor's motion. 9 gunshots, that's how many times a Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputy can be heard firing on a man in a newly released audio recording. That man later died. We do want to warn you, the audio you're about to hear may be disturbing for some.
Come on, Billy. Be cooperative.
Come out the door.
Billy! Please stop, Billy!
So deputies responded to calls about a fight at Tapian Arenal early Sunday morning. They came face to face with Billy Grimm. The sheriff says he refused to get out of a truck, and when deputies tried to remove him, he reached for a gun, then started to raise it. That's when they say Deputy Greg Grundhofer fired. The deputy has been with the department for 3 years now. He's on standard paid leave. The department is still investigating what happened.
Taking a live look over New York City as we wake up today, where later today mourners will gather for the funeral of the NYPD officer shot and killed in the head over the weekend. Officer Brian Moore was just 25 when he was allegedly shot by Demetrius Blackwell. Blackwell could now be facing murder charges. In his 5 years on the force, Moore had more than 150 arrests and 2 exceptional police service records.
And police in California are on the lookout for this man this morning after he was caught on home surveillance camera attacking a teen girl. Investigators say he was seen inside a Subway shop just 2 blocks away from the girl's house about 15 minutes before this attack. Police say that's when he noticed the 13-year-old and followed her home. You can see he pushes himself right through the doorway there as she tries to close it. She is able to get away, then he suddenly just leaves. Police say the man is also suspected in an attempted sexual assault of a 28-year-old woman.
A 6:38.